And after a nice, long, relaxing holiday break, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and Hanukkah and New Year's. And here we go, back to work, rolling up our sleeves because we got a lot ahead of us. 2025 is going to be a big, big year. There's an expression they use on social media a lot that I see. You don't hate the media, the mainstream media, enough. You don't despise the mainstream media enough. And when I see the cover of today's Washington Post, this is the Bible for the left. You know, the New York Times, the Washington Post, they have their bellwethers. They have their go-to publications. And the Washington Post is one of them. Now, you want to know that it says on the cover, but the big headline is about the New Orleans terror attack that killed at least 15, dozens more injured. If you've seen the surveillance video of the vehicle plowing down Bourbon Street, it's horrifying. Bodies being scattered like, bowling pins. The monster was evidently a veteran, clearly radicalized. The guy that blew himself up outside Trump Tower in Las Vegas was also an Army vet. This guy was described as a Master Sergeant Green Beret. So I guess he was radicalized too. Here's the cover of the Washington Post. I kid you not. Truck rams New Orleans crowd. That's the headline. Truck rams New Orleans crowd. The truck did it. It wasn't the terrorist, it was the truck. It's what leftists do with guns. They like to use the phrase gun violence. What the heck is gun violence? Well, the guns do it. It's the gun's fault. So it stands to reason that if a terrorist gets behind the wheel of a car and plows into a crowd of people, killing at least 15, the truck did it. It's not the guy driving the car. That is the honest-to-goodness headline above the fold, Washington Post, truck rams New Orleans crowd. Now, I promise you that's not an accident. I guarantee you that is not a mistake. That's not something that they accident. You know that they're sitting there saying, well, we're going to get some pushback for this. But because, it looks kind of stupid to say the truck rams the crowd. But this is the way the left sees the world. They blame inanimate objects for evil acts. It's not the fault of the person pulling the trigger. It's the gun. Now, they don't seem to do this. If you notice, the one category that is exempt from this madness are knives. They never talk about knife violence. They only talk about gun violence. And now they're talking about truck violence. The Washington Post blames the truck for the deaths of 15 people. Meanwhile, this guy, Army veteran, sources tell the Washington Times that the 37-year-old Colorado Springs guy rented the truck in his home state and drove to Nevada to carry out the explosion that only killed himself and injured 7 bystanders, none of them expected to die from their injuries. He served, according to the Washington Times, at the same Army base as the 42-year-old Texan who killed at least 15 when he drove his truck through the New Orleans crowd early Wednesday. In case you didn't know it, the guy in New Orleans was killed in a shootout with police, and kudos to the police for proactively neutralizing the bad guy. Our number is 800-655-MIKE. We have a lot to keep up. And by the way, it was the Washington Post, just to clarify, somebody just texted, it was the Washington Times, not the Post. No, it was the Washington Post with the headline, Truck Rams New Orleans Crowd. I've got a copy of it right in front of me. It's not the Times. The Washington Times, Texas, is writing about the revelation that it was a Master Sergeant Army veteran who blew himself up in Las Vegas. So keep up. I know we got a lot coming at you, and I sometimes stay glued to the text line, which is to my detriment. But I appreciate the MyPillow text line, and as 2025 gets underway, I want to give you a heads up that some of our goals for 2025 are all over connecting you with us and us with you. We'll be all over social media. We've finally taken the plunge into the world of TikTok. We'll have the Mike Gallagher Show TikTok account. We'll be all over Facebook and X. Social media, brace yourself, gird your loins. And I love the text line because it does give me instant feedback, even when somebody like Texas has it wrong and thinks that I was citing the wrong newspaper, because happened to be, this time at least, completely correct. So the MyPillow text line, 800-655-MIKE. Please never text and drive. Standard text messaging rates may apply. But, hey, however you get here, call or text us. It's the same number. Same way, 800-655-MIKE. And incidentally, as Katie wrote from Morton Grove, Illinois, truck Rams New Orleans crowd, Katie writes, this is why they lost in 2024 and will continue to lose. We got 18 days to go before Donald Trump gets inaugurated. I hope we make it that long. I hope we can last for the next 18 days before the new sheriff comes to town. Like somebody on social media put it, Daddy's coming home from work, and Daddy isn't happy. 800-655-MIKE. Welcome in to the first edition of the Mike Gallagher Show in 2025. Glad to have you with us. The phrase, you don't hate the legacy media enough. Elon Musk must be listening to us today. Thank you, Elon. He posted a little while ago the same thing. You don't hate the legacy media enough. He reposted a comment from somebody how the media headlines about these attacks are misleading audiences, suggesting the Cybertruck just caught fire or exploded, maybe due to a malfunction. I mean, MSN, Microsoft Network. Big source of news for a lot of people. Here's the headline, an actual headline. Tesla Cybertruck catches fire outside Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Didn't catch fire. Explosives were placed in the truck and intentionally detonated. And maybe the most awful story of all, in a day full of horrible stories. And we got a lot going on. We got even covered the debate over Speaker Mike Johnson. I want to try to tackle that if we can get to it. The woman who was burned alive on a subway car in New York City. People being pushed onto train tracks in New York. This morning, a subway employee was stabbed. And we got people. Here is the most awful story of all. And this is a fact. After these terror attacks in New Orleans, hundreds and hundreds of pro-Hamas protesters marched in New York City. They blocked 6th Avenue in Manhattan just hours after the terror attack in New Orleans. In other words, hundreds of people took to the streets of New York after 15 people were killed by a guy with an ISIS flag, and they were chanting things like, resistance is glorious, we will be victorious, and we will honor all our martyrs. And Gaza, you make us proud. They carried signs that said Zionism is cancer. And they chanted, there is only one solution, Intifada revolution. Intifada, of course, is Arabic for uprising and associated with the terror attacks in Israel in the early 2000s. Now, why do I dare to dream that in a Trump administration, every one of those pieces of scum would get rounded up, walking through the streets of 6th Avenue, the Avenue of the Americas in New York City? I understand free speech. That ain't free speech. What would happen to people marching around in the streets of New York after 9/11, praising the hijackers? This is where we are in Biden's America. This is what Biden's America has produced. This is what lawless prosecutors have generated. And Donald Trump is not having any of it. He fired out a post this morning on Truth Social, ripping into the Justice Department, the FBI, and the Democrat state and local prosecutors, calling it all a disaster, a global laughingstock. He blasted the country's weak leadership for failing to protect Americans from violent scum. President Trump said our country is a disaster, a laughingstock all over the world. He ended it with saying, "See you on January 20th, make America great again." He's right. Only strength and powerful leadership can fix this. 800-655-MIKE. Here's Marty in Wisconsin. Marty, welcome to the Mike Gallagher Show. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. This reminds me of something that Rush Limbaugh used to do. You know, he had something called an SUV update, and he would do stories about the media.
I remember that.
Acting as like the vehicles had a mind of their own, and they decided to do it.
I remember that. In fact, somebody texted the same point, Marty, from North Carolina. Rush used to point out the same absurd media narrative, SUV kills pedestrian, etc., just like they like to say that the gas-guzzling SUVs were destroying the planet. He was so, gosh, I miss him. I miss him so much. We're kind of a fraternity, us talk show hosts, us big mouths with talk shows. I had a chance before Christmas to go out to Los Angeles and visit Dennis Prager in the hospital. Had a chance to visit with just a remarkable man. As you know by now, he suffered a terrible fall and a catastrophic injury. We're praying for his recovery. I think it's public now that he's paralyzed and is breathing with the aid of a ventilator. But he's in great spirits. Again, inspirational as all get out. It was so good to get to see him. I always told a joke with Dennis that he could say, I'm going to do a cruise to the black hole of Calcutta, and 900 people would show up and sign up for the cruise. And Dennis loved that joke. Over the years, I told it frequently whenever he and I appeared together. So I walked into the hospital room. He's in ICU still in the hospital in L.A., and I walked in saying, all right, Prager wants to go to the black hole of Calcutta, and 900 people signed up. And he laughed, and he smiled, and his eyes lit up, and he said, wow, 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 mouth the words, wow, 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 and me kind of jogging out there before my trip to London for Christmas. And look, we love him. We're praying for him. And all of it, congratulations to Charlie Kirk, who just re-signed with Salem for another term. We're thrilled to continue with the great Charlie Kirk, and all of us. Hugh Hewitt, of course, Seb Gorka's leaving to go into the White House. He's going to serve under President Trump. Chris Stigall is going to take over mornings, and then Hugh is moving into the Seb Gorka slot. And don't forget the Patriots Alaska cruise this summer. Pack your bags. I mean, the Patriots Alaska cruise with yours truly, Mike Gallagher, along with Larry Elder. Joe Piscopo is going to join us. Jennifer Horn from L.A. will be on this beautiful cruise ship. It's a great ship, too. I love this ship. Where there's a great spa on board and a casino. And, of course, we'll see the fjords and all. Now, look, space is limited. And already, I think over 100 people have signed up. You only need to plop down a $300 deposit to book your stateroom. Go to travelwithsalem.com. It's August 16th through the 23rd. The Patriots Alaska cruise with Gallagher, Elder, Piscopo, and Jennifer Horn and more. Travelwithsalem.com. Travelwithsalem.com.